Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Chef Extraordinaire Kerth Gumbs, head chef at new London concept Boiler & Company. Coming up on today's show, Kerth tells us how he kept fit back in Anguilla.
And I used to do running for free where me and my friends on the weekends used to go and catch wild goats.
Phil reveals one of the negatives of London.
You can't bum a ride in London, that's for sure.
And Kerth questions Phil's goals.
So you're telling me you're like next in line for the next Mr. Olympia?
All that and so much more as we chat through Kerth's wonderful story and journey to date. Kerth's journey is full of lessons for us all, and his story shows a wonderful combination of toughing it out, adapting your mentality, and pushing through. He tops this off with a live-in-the-moment style approach to his life and cooking, and there's no doubt that he's reaping the benefit of that now. Kerth also recounts his Great British menu experience. Not to be missed. Please don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening. It really does make a huge difference. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street. Today we're back in the kitchen and I welcome someone who's had quite the career actually, and you've built a hell of a career for yourself so far. We'll talk about that obviously in a bit more depth shortly, but he's worked with some brands such as Tom Aitkins, Joel Robuchon, the Wolseley, the Arts Club, Ormer and Mayfair, and he now finds himself as the head chef at Boiler & Company, which I'm sure we will learn more about later on. But it gives me huge pleasure to welcome the always awesome Kerth Gumbs.
Hey, hi guys, hi. Thank you for having me, Phil. Good,
You're very, very welcome. What's new? Are you recording from home today?
Yes, I'm home. Luckily, on the weekend, nice sun shining out today, so it's a good time to be off, really.
Spring is in the air, hopefully. It's a good, that's a good time for ingredients in the kitchen as well, right? Spring is a wonderful
definitely
time.
One of those seasons that I'm most excited about is always spring. Fresh, new ingredients, light, so I just find spring more of a preferable time for me to get real creative.
Got you. Yeah, and of course I mentioned at the top there that you've fairly recently, going back sort of 4 months or so now, but you joined a concept called Boiler & Company. Do you want to just give us a quick overview of what that involves and what's the concept?
Well, Boiler & Company, it's a synergy and a marriage between myself and some business partners where it started out very much like as a cocktail bar. And when we added the food element to it, in my culinary direction, it's equal emphasis on the creativity of the chef and the mixologists of what we're going to do in terms of the concept matching food rather than specifically, when it comes to my menu in terms of the tasting menu, which runs from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m., more like a supper club. It is paired with cocktails rather than wines. But in terms of the whole concept of Boiler & Company, you can come in for a coffee, which is award-winning coffee we do by Kiss by Hippo. You can have small dishes, sharing dishes, a la carte. But the whole menu that is really exciting for that culinary experience is to come down and try the tasting menu from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the idea behind that is first time now, after all these years living overseas and really cooking modern British, living in Singapore and in Southeast Asian flavors, I was always cooking fine dining, Michelin star cooking on, French techniques, modern European, and doing all the luxuries from the foie gras to the truffles and cream bases and the butters and everything like that. But now I'm starting to incorporate and shine a light on those humble ingredients from my region, from growing up in the Caribbean. Not just the individual ingredients like sweet potato and coconut, but I'm talking about my interpretation on dishes that I grew up eating, such as conky dumpling, dukkana, fungi and saltfish, and these kind of things. So that menu now, you'll have hints of spices and different chilies from Scotch bonnets, and not in an offensive way, but so I'm mixing in a new storyline where the dishes or the tasting menu has international influences because, I've been learning my craft and cooking overseas for many years now, but I'm now applying those techniques onto those humble ingredients to make the produce and those dishes, local dishes from different Caribbean islands, as well as my own growing up in Angola, shine a bit. So, yeah.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I'd love a tasting menu. I don't need an excuse to come and try a tasting menu. I did have a cheeky look on the website before we turned everything on here and had this chat. Right up my alley. The food looks beautiful. I love the fact that you're talking about kind of dealing with fairly humble ingredients, actually, but just treating them with respect and delivering what looks like a wonderful product.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's I've always wanted to cook in a place that more represents my personality, and so far the boxes are ticking from Boiling Code. We don't have tablecloths, we don't have people just buzzing around making you feel a little bit like claustrophobic. It's really friendly, approachable service. It's an open kitchen. On the weekends, from Thursday, Friday, Saturdays in the evening, we can have a little DJ. You can have your cheeky cocktails over in the whiskey bar. If you want a more private setting, you can go upstairs into another bar that's going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. And most importantly, everybody feels connected because it's private yet still open. I mean, the kitchen is small, but everybody's completely visible. I literally touch every table that comes in to dine. So that's very good. Of course, when you're working in a place that you say more represents your personality, I take my food very seriously. But at the same point in time, I'm quite a fluent and jolly kind of guy to get around. I'm not like wanting to be sticked up and you work on the food, you do lots of hours, but at the same point in time, it's now where we are in an open plan kitchen. You get to see the customers' appreciation, or you hear their thanks, or you hear the positivity, or you ask questions for the next couple of weeks in case when you got to come back. Whether it's necessary or not, we're all now just taking off our training wheels and learning to grow with the new way of hospitality because we just came out of quite a crucial time and we're probably still in it of the backhand
Yeah.
of a pandemic. But why not cook in a place where you're comfortable doing what you want to do and, tasty food, friendly atmosphere. And yeah, it's all about that kind of
Yeah.
ambience.
What's not to love, man? That is absolutely bang on, and you're right. I mean, it's been a tough old time, right? So at least it sounds like you're doing something that kind of comes naturally to you in terms of the food that you're offering, your natural personality. I mean, I first became aware of you as probably a lot of people on the Great British Menu. You really put yourself on the map in that experience. And we'll talk about that in a bit more depth because I'm really intrigued to learn about that process. But you mentioned that you've worked overseas and obviously your origins are in the Caribbean. So let's head all the way back to the beginning of your career. And how did you get into or when did you first realize that you wanted to become a chef?
Well, this was kind of like one of those default compulsory moments. And I've always said the same story. When you grow up in the Caribbean, when I reach around fourth form or fifth form, 2 years before you leave school, you have to choose between three subjects, which is compulsory. It would be auto mechanics, woodwork, or food nutrition.
Right.
And I was doing my little assessments, walking around the different classrooms to figure out which one of these I think I would, fit in. And the auto mechanics thing, I've never been that type of boy to be like, trying to build cars or look under hoods and getting oily. Or the woodworks, I wasn't that kind of creative guy neither, like, chiseling away stuff and just watching the sawdust fly in the air and all this. It was just so messy and dirty, and I was like, I wasn't sure about that. But when I walked across the food nutrition class, man, I looked inside of the window. It was like 15 girls and two guys, and I was like, whoa, that's a class I got to get in there. And he started thinking about, yeah, I'm gonna get in there. And at the end of the day, all jokes aside, my mom was a renowned chef on the island, very well respected, and I think it more resonated with me to say, why not go into a food nutrition class? Growing up in the
Yeah.
Caribbean was tough, it was hard, and at least again, tick another box. I knew every Friday afternoon or whenever that food nutrition class is, at least I'll get a chance to go home with a solid meal or whatever, some kind of goodie, whether it's a cake or cookie. So you get in a win-win situation. You're in a class. It was like three boys, 15 girls. You're getting to eat what you cook. They were just ticking more boxes for me. And then shortly after, like the teachers was always like, you put the boys against the girls and so forth. And then they were encouraging and really seeing that actually the boys were really doing well and taking this class, as or even a little bit more serious than the girls. So we had a lot of encouragement there, and it's time I finished school. I started to open a pizzeria in with my best friend, and it was kind of relatively easy to do because his uncle owned the leading bakery on the island. So basically, all the infrastructure was there ready, to make the pizza, all the equipment and so forth, the ovens. But they work from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. So basically, in the evening, the kitchen was free. So we end up renting it and using it as that space to do pizza. Because that was one of the things that we started to do in our food nutrition class in school, which was making pizza and selling it on break times to the students and so forth. So we just naturally turned it into a little concept, and it was called Let Me Know's Pizza Hut, and it just means let me know what you want. And
Nice.
yeah, and we did that for like a year and a half or what's not, and then from there I ended up going into my first 5-star hotel. It's a beautiful 5-star hotel on the island called Capchuluca, and I started off there as a waiter and an expediter to learn how to carry the trays and glasses, and I was in the kitchen, but I wasn't cooking. I was getting to see everybody doing everything, but I was just taking the food down and so forth. So that was like my real like professional job, my first job in a professional atmosphere in terms of being in hospitality, and it was more as a waiter than an expediter.
I can imagine that's helped you though, like especially like getting that cohesion between kitchen to front of house. Having some front of house experience must be very helpful.
Exactly. I mean, I always take it. I don't take it for granted watching when you get new staff in and they're carrying trays and they fall the glasses, or whether it's champagne glasses or flutes and so. I we used to be practicing every morning next to the pool, and I used to crash a load of glasses because the trays was much bigger. But you have to learn to appreciate that it's not that easy walking up and down stairs, having the balance, knowing where you're setting the glasses and which one you should take off first to not off balance that tray, as well as seeing how the guest is served in terms of table settings and putting the food in front of them. That
Yeah.
first initial reaction. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started out life as a waiter. How did the transition happen to into the kitchen, or did you have some more roles to do first before you got into the kitchen?
But I think it was kind of again like by default in a sense because I was growing up in Caribbean. I think I had three areas I can say that I was very interested in doing well in, and one of them were track and field. I even had a scholarship. I went to World Championships to compete in Edmonton, Canada in 2002, I
Wow.
think.
Right.
But as well, again, the good sides of that is having a scholarship and having someone recognize your talent and your ability for being an athlete. Again, in the Caribbean life, it's a little bit different. So I was a little bit of a delinquent as well, you can say. And as all these positive opportunities, I started doing track and field and running because when I realized these kids that was getting to travel, 5 or 6 different countries in 4 months just to run. And I used to do running for free, where me and my friends on the weekends used to go and catch wild goats and sell them to people and for butchery and so forth. Yeah, and that was
Jeez
just
Louise, right?
running and catching wild goats. And then these guys was going traveling and staying in hotels and swimming pools and getting everything paid for. I wasn't really traveling anywhere, like 14, 15 years old. So I was like, okay, that seems good. That's an incentive. So I joined the track and field team. I was running for free, so now I'm getting like free travel and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, this is great. This is where I got to be.
Yeah.
So
And why not,
but
right?
eventually it had like a lot of discipline, and like I said, you started to outshine. I was like the second fastest in the school, and I was the captain of my whole house and everything like that. But sadly enough, when it came to a time where different hardships and problems growing up in the islands make me a little bit more surrounded by a lot of negative energy as well, coming from in myself or around, whether it's my peers, whether it's my upcoming. It was just things that you get involved with as a young teen. And my coaches at that time, I was supposed to go to have this scholarship like in 2003, and they
Yeah.
postponed my scholarship to go to Jamaica to train in 2004 September. And I was extremely annoyed, and I was like, no, like what? I'm the second fastest in the school. Like, why am I gonna wait a whole year because you wanted to punish me because I had some kind of disturbance and being a little juvenile in a sense, and they wanted to help me to see a different path, and their sanction was to postpone my scholarship for a year. So I like wasn't really happy with that. I had a brief discussion actually with my father because while I was in school at that time, I remember there was scouts that was coming from a culinary college. It's called the Cordon Bleu, and
Yep.
they're all over the world in France, London, America. And I told him like I'm interested, probably looking into that. And at the end of the day, I told him this on a Friday, and by the Monday or Tuesday, he came with me with paperwork and saying, "Hey, I found this, da da da." He was quite maybe happy because, as I said, I used to get in a lot of trouble back home, loads of different fights and different things like that. And when we first had that conversation, because I grew up with my mom and he was they was never together, like separated. So I grew up mostly with my other brothers on my mom's side. And finally, when we had this kind of discussion, he decided to look for the furthest away school as possible, and that was right here in London, the Cordon Bleu. We could have gone to the one in Tortola, we could have gone to the one in California, but I guess for him, it's like, I could have easily get a 2 hour flight back home any other weekend. But if you come all the way to London, you can't travel back. It's an investment, you really
Right.
need to think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So he got me away from that.
Yeah. If you're in, you're in.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we talk about that in the September 2003, and by the 1st of January 2004, I was here in the UK, blowing smoke out of my mouth because it was so cold. And that was like a new regulation to me too.
Yeah. Have you gotten
So
used to that yet?
oh, not really. I'm still a tropical boy, but I
Yeah.
definitely love London. But yeah, so that's how it happened really. So even though I was doing the waitering and everything, I did have a scholarship, and because that kind of like went on the back burner, being young, I decided to take up the second thing, and I was just talking over them, just casual conversation, and it kind of like developed very quickly from September, and then January, 1st of January, boom, 3 months later, I was in the UK. No friends, no family. I had one cousin that came and picked me up and showed me the ropes a little bit for 2 days, and then I was on my own. I was again because I was an athlete. Instead of catching the bus, I was running, following the bus route where my cousin showed me, and I was running behind the bus to each bus stop just to learn. I learned my bearings visually rather than going and sitting in the bus and I'm getting lost. If the bus drive this route and he stops, I stop. When he goes, I go. I was running for like half an hour.
God.
So yeah, for one week.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, to learn my roots. I was in a big city. I've never been on taxis. I've never been in a tube. I've never seen snow, but I knew how to run. So my cousin told me this is the route, and I followed that route. And I didn't get on the bus. I run behind of it for one week straight, because in case they went to a different diversion or what's not. So I learned my bearings by seeing what the bus routes was passing.
Right. Yeah. It's funny, actually. A lot of people get, when you come to London, you just get into the tube network, right? And then that's how you learn to get around. But actually, I remember the day that I kind of woke up and said, the centre of London is pretty condensed. It's not that far to walk anywhere. And the day that I started doing that was the day that I started learning where stuff was. And I remember walking past Ronnie Scott's and going, oh, that's where Ronnie Scott's is.
Yeah.
I had no idea, that's how you develop the knowledge of the place that you're living in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, like coming from an island, we only have 15,000 people. It's very small. We don't have taxi systems like that. And for us to get from point A to point B, you either walk or you boom a ride. And I've never seen anybody done that over here. We just put our thumb fingers out and that's the direction we need to go. And someone stops you, a total stranger, you jump in and you come out at the closest to your destination. That's what we did. We bum rides. So this whole bus and tubes was completely new to me.
Yeah, you can't bum a ride in London. That's for sure. So you arrived in London on path with Le Cordon Bleu. What happened next?
So I did my grand diploma and graduated on a basic, intermediate, and superior cuisine and patisserie, all crammed into one module. I did cuisine in the day, pastry in the night. So I get my grand diploma, and then I went out to work, looking for a job, and it was great as well. It was more refreshing. I mean, I was like 17, 18 years old. And to do that module, you get to graduate 3 times. I didn't graduate from my high school again because of growing up in Ireland. I was on the list of one of those problematic kids, so they didn't let me
Yeah.
graduate. But when I come to the UK, I did graduate the 3 times from that college, from the institute, and then I took my first job at Terence Conran, Quagalinos. And that was like many years ago, and as well, it's a place where I met one of the chefs that I most respect. I mean, there's a couple of chefs I've met in my career that I do respect, but I mean, I always talk about the kindness of Julian O'Neill, which is someone I met from way back in my early careers, and who as well gave me the encouragement to move into the Michelin world after leaving his kitchen. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, not a bad start to get stuck into Quaglinos as well. I mean, it's not known as Quaglinos now, but the
back in the
busy
day, yeah.
restaurant. Yeah,
Yeah.
busy restaurant, but still a good caliber of cooking, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially coming straight out of school and at a college like that, and you're thinking you know stuff, and then reaching in like, no, you don't. Doing things in theory and in practical as well are two different things. And
Yeah.
it was a good foundation for about 3.5 years. I stayed, moved up, moved all around, and then because of my hunger and the passion, I think Julian did tell me I should go and work in a Michelin star kitchen. He recommended Tom Akins because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be this, and he was completely right. It was a really different and difficult kitchen to be in, but equally so. I think lots of respect towards the cuisine that he was doing at that time as well. It was very creative, adventurous, and intense. Um, but still, you're stimulated, under pressure, and at least there was a time when everybody was still just hustling. The kitchen times was very different back then. Working in one year in a kitchen such as that was like equivalent of doing two in another
Right.
kitchen. It was
Yeah.
it was
But
it's a
I'm
wake up.
guessing your learning curve would have been steep
Yeah.
as well, right? So especially to move from a non-Michelin environment into a Michelin environment where it's now it's really about precision, but precision under pressure.
Yeah.
As well, and that's a big step to take. And you mentioned the fact that it's a pressure kitchen, but at the end of the day, it's if you want to achieve something really positive, generally speaking, there's going to be some pressure around that.
Yeah. And I think it's all about the mentality of what you have, and I said that in the most positive way
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, all my interviews, I still talk about it. Whether it's a difficult kitchen, I still probably wouldn't be the chef that I am today with the certain ethics and principles. And I always remembered and enjoyed seeing those creative dishes all the time. So you can't just, I think, go a place and only want to take the good out of it and not understand that there is going to be some ankle work and backbone have to build you up some certain level of resilience for you to
yeah,
stay on board and learn because I'm a firm believer once you have acquired that knowledge or experience, no one can take it away from you. That's yours. So you're gonna
yeah.
have to put it in rather than then watching things on social media now and seeing things on Instagram and thinking, oh, that looks good, I want to learn that, and you learn it and then you think that's it. No, it goes more than that.
It's
It
one
has to be
step
deeper.
in a
Exactly,
massive journey.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And generally speaking, as well, the vast majority of things that are worth doing are are the things where you test yourself, and that can be test from a technical capability, and it can be a test from a psychological capability in
Yeah.
terms of things that put you into a place that you're not familiar with. It's how
Yeah.
you respond, as you said, to that actually determines where you go with that next.
And I found it like extremely even difficult. Like I said, like coming from the islands and being a little hothead and everything, and then being thrown into this environment with other people that's a hothead, and then you got to think about it. Like,
Yeah,
what do I want? What do I want to achieve? And I just had to hush my mouth. Yes, chef. Da da da, and create some discipline and try to say that this is going to be better for me here in the long run, rather than me trying to, lose my own opportunities. Because in
Yeah.
every good chef has a good scar, a good story. As you know, it could be in some part of it gonna be have to be difficult. You don't just wake up in the golden spoon and think you're gonna be on top. You have to work. You have to have some kinds of level of discomfort, whether it's physical or psychological. But that is what it is. But when you leave then, and to how I address my kitchen now is where you take all these things and cipher them out in different areas and work out what's the best way to make you the better person, whether a better cook or the better manager. But you can't do that unless you see both sides.
Yeah. And you take the good and the bad, right? And you process
Yeah,
that in your own way, and you move forward with it in your own way. But to your point around, you know, if you like imagine a situation whereby you set a goal for yourself that you want to shoulder press 50 kilograms, and the first time you pick up a weight, you can't shoulder press 10 kilograms. Just an example.
yeah.
What do? Do you go, oh God, the gap is too great for me to get from there to there? Or do you just push through the 10 and do as well you can, and then you incrementally
Yes,
increase to the 11, to 15, to 20, and before you know it, you're on the touch and distance of your goal. But you can't
exactly.
just expect to to wake up one morning and go, all right, I'm going to press 50 kilograms. Same
And the
principle in
thing
every fact of life.
And the thing about that is, even though using that analogy, you have to realize even if you do 10 kilograms and then 15 kilograms, a day after or 2 days after, you're gonna have a burn. You're gonna have a muscle
Yeah,
burn that
not
you'll
half.
be like, whoa, and that's gonna hurt you. But you keep going, and then eventually that muscle burn will become lighter and less noticeable, and then equally so you're becoming stronger. So it's brilliant
Yeah,
analogy. So yeah, there is hard work gives you some kind of scarring somewhere, and then
yeah.
eventually you reach that goal.
Absolutely. Going to say I use that analogy because that's a goal I've actually set myself. So,
Right.
that and and the first time I picked up 15 kilograms, I was like, God. So it just I use it as a real world example of the fact that I still you still set the goal and you still work. Just keep working towards it, and you will achieve something.
So you're telling me you're like next in line for the next Mr. Olympia?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm actually doing it as I'm now in the wrong side of 40, so I'm in mid
Right.
40s now, and it's widely written about the fact that as you get older, your muscle capability diminishes, and I'm
Yeah.
actually doing it purely to kind of just stop that in its tracks, rather than just waiting for
Yeah.
me to waste
Yeah.
away, as it were. So, and maybe just defy a little bit of the written logic. But anyway, I digress. Sorry, that was my fault.
No worries, man. So yeah, from Tom Lakins, then I left and went on to a different type of Michelin star, which is Joel Robichon, and that was on another aspect. When equally so, very very precise, very creative. But the way they conduct the kitchen was a lot different to being at Tom Aikens, but equally both really, really good. Just a different style, and it was all in French. I didn't know, I was going in as like a chef de partie. They gave me a week to learn how to conquer all the numbers from 1 to 100 in a week. Because generally, if you're gonna be a chef de partie and you're gonna be upstairs in the show kitchen cooking, you need to learn to understand the menu in French because we're mostly just French chefs, French sous chefs, and especially like with the first 6 months when Mr. Robichon came, I will always get pushed back to do the smaller jobs, and then the sous chef will come onto the section because he comes there. Everybody's really on the toes and on the edge, and it's all in French, the service. But by the 6 month or 7 month, when he came back again before the first year up, like I learned my French in terms of just to do what's the menu. I'm not like a fluent, but just to do what my dishes are. To learn what scallops is, what is your poulet, your Saint Jacques, your whatever,
Yeah,
and my the counting in French because it was important for them that when especially with the entrecote, you send the entrecote to the table and the customer will put a mark in it, and then when you come back, you cut it and you have to weigh it and say, oh, this steak was 66 grams or whatever, and you have to tell them like that. So it was again
right.
another learning curve. It was very interesting. And after we got our second star, because it was a new opening after the second year, I stayed there for about 2.5, and from there I went back to with my mentor, which was Julian. He had then left the Crackling Youngs, and he took up the head chef role at the Wolseley, and then that was another powerhouse. I mean, you're doing 700 to 800
Yeah.
covers a day over
It's a
breakfast, lunch.
phenomenal place. Phenomenal place.
Exactly. So I worked there again, built my way up, up to sous chef, from junior sous to sous to senior sous, etc. And that was a very interesting place again. But having that was like working in the Michelin world, having that connection towards where I was back home and being more on the shorter temperament side or tolerant side, and he was thinking like these are things that mix well within the old days of being in the Michelin world. But then when I was in the Wolseley, it was more learning about management rather than learning how to cook. But at the same point in time, when you do
Right.
have that kind of personality or that trait, it was not great to be accepted in those environments. So I had to learn to kind of tone it down quite a lot. And that was a different learning curve as well, to learn to manage myself or my expectations or my temperament or the level of tolerance, because what was accepted in the Michelin world was not going to be accepted in that world of being out in a brasserie, busy kitchen, and so forth. Where you have to become more of a people's person, or someone who can be able to communicate, articulate, and control yourself better. So it was
Yeah.
again another interesting set of 3 years, and slowly after that, I started to get like I yearned to get back into the creative world again and do good food. So after leaving there, I went back into the Michelin environment, and I wanted to as well to see what what hotels do, because you do the fine dining after 6 years, and to be quite frank, 6 years doing double every day, 15 to 17 hours, it was very tired, and so that's why you end up doing the brasserie setting, which was more of a balance of life, which was good. But then you
Yeah.
equally want to get back into the food, and then I've never done hotels, and I said, okay, let's try to see what a hotel restaurant is like, and I went into the Hilton at Park Lane as a senior sous, and that was nice for a bit. And I still want to know to say, you know what, I actually need international experience. Um,
Okay.
every chef talk about they've been here, they work in France, they work in this place, whether it's in Dubai, America, etc. I can only truly make myself an asset to myself unless I cover these bases. So it came at a point in time in my life after at a career, and I said I got to throw myself in the deep end again. And I went to
You
Singapore where
like
I
doing
worked.
that, didn't you?
So yeah, you got to. I was
Yeah.
always on a mission. I'm still on a mission. So the only thing, I was much younger then. I'm starting to get a gray hairs in the beard now, so you can tell it's going on. It's
Yeah.
going on.
Priorities change a little bit over time, don't they? But they kind of make hay while you've got. Especially, I suppose, at this point in time as well, you'd still very much be in a learning phase of who you want to become as a chef, and
Yeah,
and by giving yourself, I suppose, the as many opportunities in various different places as possible, you start to you learn about the stuff that you don't want to do as much as you learn about the stuff that you do want to do. So you're kind of forming your identity.
yeah, exactly. And that's all has shaped me around many different aspects. So that was good. And as I say, moving to Singapore for 3.5 years, that was another great experience. I was working for one of Jason Atherton's restaurants, a new opening over there, and that was interesting as well. And you had the concept was like Spanish tapas, but you had the head chef who was Irish. You had me as a senior, and British background, but we were doing a Spanish restaurant concept with modern
Yeah,
European techniques serving to the Asian community. So that
yeah.
was
You almost can't make it up sometimes, can you?
but it was very good, very successful restaurant, very buzzing, and yeah, that was interesting. After my stint there, then I returned to London and again try something different, do a private members club now to take all these things. So I did the hotel, did a brasserie, did a Michelin star, did a private members club, and after a couple of years there again, then is when I decided to go ahead and try to push towards getting awards and nominations, and that was the concept for Oma Mayfair in terms of championing British produce, Jersey produce, and then I opened that and was at the helm for the best part of 5 years, and bringing it up to a certain level of brand where it stands today. And that was another great London Carve opening from when the place was a complete construction site in terms of the kitchen element and never having that
Yeah.
service of food there. So there was quite a lot to learn there, and a lot of things to do there as well. And yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and no doubt. And that's it was around that time that I became aware of you. We talked about Great British Menu earlier, of course, but the one thing that I've learned about you in the short time that I've known about you is your social media presence is awesome. Like the stuff that you put out, it's full of energy, it's full of creativity. Your food looks ridiculously amazing. You clearly have a creative eye for presentation as well. And I would just say to anybody who's listening to this who doesn't follow you already, give Kerth a follow on Instagram if you want some food porn on a daily basis.
Throw it in there, food porn, of course, you love it. No, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's all about fun and yeah, it's that abstractness, vibrantness towards again who I am and as a person. Like I said, I'm very approachable and I'm easy going, and that's what you want. You want to cook with fun. You want to see food that looks fun, that's gonna taste vibrant and interesting, and it's a complete representation of what I do. There's no hidden tricks to it. You know, we take a quick picture, a quick video, and yeah, it's real life. That's it. You come down to the restaurant at Boiler and Company, and it'll be the same thing. You got to witness it for yourself. So definitely do check it out.
yeah. The video I saw the other day was you. I think you just taken receipt of like herbs, but
Oh,
the energy that you had towards these things coming into your space was like, wow, that's you clearly care greatly about your craft.
yes, definitely. I would say that definitely, yeah. And it's ever evolving. You know, same like I said to people, like of course you would like to get awards and nominations and so forth, but my driving force is not now like not looking just for these things anymore, not looking just for the Michelin star or the awards or the nominations. I want to make sure that my staff as well as myself are happy to come into a place that they're happy to be in. You know, I always said it even when I was at Oma Mayfair, same thing. I think having the Michelin star and so forth, it lies within the team, not just within the chef or the patron or whatever vision we say. Because if they're happy to come in and do everything and they're all striving for the same vision and focus, then you'll never feel like you're really working because we all care in the same level. But obviously, you can end up burning through a lot of past and present and even future chefs before they even start to work with you because of that
Yeah,
level of energy. So I want to make sure at Boiling Company the chefs have a certain level of involvement where at the end of the day they're heard, they're also seen, and we just do what we do and we do it well and we do it within the comfort of having a peace of mind. And then if we are doing that great enough to be acknowledged and in terms of getting our award or nomination, then it'll be absolutely great. But I'm not gonna try to beat down on people around me just to make sure you're ticking a certain box for a criteria based on whoever else writes that.
yeah.
I take my food extremely seriously, but at the same time, I take myself very lightly in terms of how I want to execute it and solve it. So
Yeah, and then that comes across in then the way that you lead, and people will either get on board with that or not, right? I mean, if that's not the kitchen environment for them, then that's great, that's fine, move on. But you definitely come across as wearing your heart on your sleeve, and that you're very authentic in your approach to the way that you cook, but also just the way that you are. And I completely agree with you. I think that puts you in a position of strength in the way that you're just getting on with what you're passionate about, and you're treating people with respect. And I think that's massively critical in any kind of management or leadership role across any business these days. And, you know, whether, as you say, awards come or not, it's kind of immaterial. You're doing what you love to do, and you're bringing some people along for the ride. And if somebody
yeah,
wants to say, "Do you know what? Here's a star for your exceptional work," then great. But I'm also assuming that if they didn't, then you just crack on and do what you love to do anyway.
yeah, because life gonna go on. People gonna remember you. You're gonna build and train the next generation of chefs. And like it is with hospitality, I think we can do a lot more rather than deterring them. You inspire them, and that's how you get through true growth as a culinary professional, or growth as an individual as well. So
Yeah,
I always say my motto is human beings create life. Food is the source that maintains it. One can't do without the other. That's my motto, and I live by
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that on your profile. I was like, that's really, really poignant. And also, to me, just highlights how important hospitality is as an industry, because we need food to survive, but we also need experiences to kind of thrive. To otherwise, what's the point in being here?
yeah,
There's no point in just existing. You've got to live and love life as much as possible.
yeah, yeah.
And I think probably the last couple of years has definitely highlighted that to a lot of people. But no, that's great. Well, let's get on to the Great British Menu, because I'm really desperate to ask you about this, because I love that show to bits. That was when that first came out, however many years ago it was. I was like, this is the food show that I've been waiting for on telly, to see professional guys really at the top of their game, producing incredibly creative cuisine against a specific brief. How did that come about? Was that something that you went to apply for, or did somebody say to you, do you know what, you need to go forward for this?
So to be honest, I mean, ever since came into the UK in 2004, I think the program started to come out in 2006. And as soon as I graced the TV, obviously I was at that time I was just entering the Michelin world as well, and like that program like sparked and exploded creativity in terms of what it was doing. And I've always been watching it every year, learning and getting inspiration and so forth. So like I've always said throughout my career in different places, I would love to do it. I would love to do it. More to do it, like again, throwing myself in on the deep end, and I want to test myself. And again, to see is it all worth it? All the trials, all the headaches, all the sleepless nights, everything. I want to test myself to see how good I am.
Yeah.
And it's not a competition against them themselves, or the other people. It was more about myself to see where I stand in the decisions I've made in the places I've went to work. And then 15 years later, I mean, I popped up at Oma. I mean, we used to do extremely creative food and at Oma, and we were changing the menus quite often. And I guess at some point, we hosted in 2016 or 17. Like I did a signature dessert for the Master Chef's competition, which was filmed in Oma Kitchen. I did an apple crumble on my take on it, and I mean, different areas. I guess my name or face started to pop up in 3 years after that. Like someone just messaged and said that they wanted to check me out and possibly say Great British Menu, and I was like, whoa, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Didn't know how I'm gonna do it, but I was like, they want to come down and have a bit of a recording to test to see, how you speak, what the food is gonna look like, and if you can be on camera as well as cook at the same time. And I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do
Yeah.
this. And yeah, definitely. And basically by the time they leave the kitchen, they were like, "Well, I'm gonna tell you now, like, yeah, definitely you're gonna be on the program." And like, I think you tick a lot of the boxes. You have great energy, this and that. And we don't need to go and put you in a pool where we're gonna pick which ones or what's not. Like they told me, like, yeah, definitely somebody will be in touch. And I was like, really, great. And then it happened, and they sent over the brief, and it was 150 years of children's literature, and that kind of brief for chefs is like so broad and wide to
Oh, I know.
really
I can
send
only
you back
imagine.
into creative. You can be extremely creative, and then you started to do the research, and you have to pick the books, and as well books that the other people didn't really do, the authors, the local to your region. And I was representing southeast southeast London, just southeast, sorry, and that was great. That was great. So getting on that program, it was exhilarating. Adrenaline rush, especially like being, you nervous and seeing that TV set for all these years and finally being there. It was like a roller coaster of a ride, one that was really, really, really pushed for it to be there and do the best while I was there. And after winning for the Southeast in the regionals, which was great, the competitors will get a chance to see all the creativity up front and actually taste the food rather than you seeing it and you're thinking it's good, but actually like bringing the flavor together and you tasting the other people go, wow. Yeah, even at that level of cooking, I was still really blown away and genuinely amazed for some of it while
Yeah.
being there. And after reaching to the finals, and then you go into the kitchen and thinking, okay, cool, we just gotta. I got over the regionals. Like it was four of us, and then it was gonna be eight of us, which is one winner from all the different regions. And then in walked, a one Michelin star chef, a two Michelin star chef, another two Michelin star chef, another one Michelin
Yeah.
star chef. And I'm looking like, whoa, it's getting tight here, but it was good. It was good to be around this kind of energy. But obviously, I would say it was obviously 8 times harder now because we were four in the first, and you're getting new format. You were gonna get deleted after the fish course, and I just really wanted to make it to show my whole menu on the Friday, in which I did. And then when we went into the judging room, I really didn't know where I stand. I just was much more in a comfortable place. I actually made it to the judging chamber. So then when I won, it was great. And then when you go into the finals, if you recall, it was such a hard heat for me. I had the starter course coming down last to the bottom of the chain. Fish course going up all the way with potential third place, reaching fourth place. Great. Main course all the way back down to the bottom. And then on my dessert course, which I mean, I always knew that I wanted to, I'm more prone around fish and desserts. Anyways, I always wanted to not fight for the main course because I think every chef always talk about fighting for the main course on the banquet.
Yeah.
You got to cipher it out. And
Let them have it. Let them have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like all day I'm going and like even the guys was on camera. They was like on Friday. It was like, "Cuz, are you okay? Everything is all right." And I was like, "Well, you wouldn't be in too much of a smiley mood as well if you had the week that I had, because this was the last opportunity for me to really get in there. There was just that one dish, the dessert now, and I really pushed and did everything, and I watched everything in the morning. I wasn't nervous about anything, to be honest. All the desserts that I've seen, all the desserts that I tried, and the last dessert of the day, which was by Alex Green, who did the edible book. When I saw that one, because of the concept, I was like, okay, shit,
Yeah.
definitely there's gonna be something here now. But yeah, and I went there. It was an amazing dessert, and I think flavors was good, very interesting, and it was bang on brief. It was bang on brief because if you're doing a program and the inspiration is supposed to be 150 years of children's literature, and you're getting people to eat a book. That's a flavor, that's a dessert, and it was good. I did the faraway tree, and then we were in the chambers, and everybody was like, "I can equally see your dish at the banquet cup, the technical ability, all the elements, the presentation, da da da." And there was really, really like a half a point in between of it. And at the end of the day, when they got Alex to do the book, I was like, wow, okay, I feel like a bit deflated, like, oh man, okay, cool. And then we went back to the kitchen, and the cameras were rolling, and obviously we had the new format for the program, and they were like, just so you know, guys, as well, before you pop the champagne, and for your technical ability and standing performance with the dessert as well, Gumbs, you two will be going to the banquet and you'll be doing the pudding. And I was like, what? Okay, cool. So I still got to go. Like,
Anything you want. Yeah.
yeah, you think of it as a default or what's not. I mean, look, I was happy. I tried to put myself in front of the ball to do it as I will do anyways. And I just got back to the drawing board. I changed my pre-dessert. I took inspiration from the Big Friendly Giant, and I made a banging pre-dessert as well, which was for the banquet, and I was just happy to be there and to get a chance to see that whole process, and especially on my first year of competing, and it was a humbling experience, and it again goes to show you in life, like, you might have a destination, and everyone's destination might not be a straight arrow and saying you have to go to that person or that restaurant or this style or get a Michelin star or get that to take your goal or be successful. It was a curveball and a one that was pleasantly received when they came back and just acknowledged, because of my dessert and how highly it was scored or viewed as, they decided to, like, let's create this thing and still get curved gums at the banquet to do this and to do that. And I was extremely thankful and humble, like I said.
Yeah. I mean, that's really cool. Thanks for such a detailed run through, by the way. That was brilliant. The thing that I loved about that, and that's what put you on the map for me, was your energy, the positivity that you had, like even in the face of such an up and down week of, being down the bottom, up again. And, you must like go through all of the emotions, but yet what you portrayed to anybody who was watching that show was somebody who's just enjoying himself and just, having a great time. when you're in that frame of mind, you kind of do your best work. If it's not meant for this, then that's fine. You just kind of dust yourself off, roll up your sleeves and go again. And also then to just add in that line of drama for the viewer at the end to say we're also now going to give you the opportunity. I mean, I can't imagine what you must have gone through emotionally in that
Yeah, it
period.
was. The night before the dessert, which I know that was my last chance. Like, we just finished main course, like I got to go in, and I was going up first, and my dessert had over 15 elements. It was it was a lot of stuff I
Jeez,
was
yeah.
creating. So I made the foray tree by Edith Blayton, and everything was. And then I had this dream, like I couldn't sleep. I got home, by 11 p.m. I was ready to go back into the kitchen. I want to get in, but you got to wait till 5 a.m. to wake up, and I was like waking up every like half an hour. I couldn't sleep. I was buzzing, and I had
God,
this
yeah.
like in between that half an hour, I had this like little dream slash nightmare that I was up first, and I had so many different chocolate elements. And I remember I had this dream, then I can see the chocolate, but somehow I couldn't reach it. I couldn't get it. And I was
Right.
asking everybody, please, pass me the chocolate, pass me the chocolate. And I tried to get, and something was blocking me in my dream. I was trying to do all kind of crazy. I was trying to turn myself into a superhero to get the chocolate. I couldn't combat myself because I was that determined. And then, you wake up, it's a dream, and then you got in there and you just say, you know what? As soon as they say, guys, you have 90 minutes or two, how much, 2 hours or whatever the case is, you just have to go. And
Yeah.
and that's it,
Yeah, the mind's a blessing and a curse, isn't it? The stuff that the tricks it plays on you and the like at the
Yeah.
times when and you could have done with a really good night's sleep that night probably, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
But
anyway,
we do it to ourselves as chefs, overly passionate, overly, you have to think everything through, and especially when you're in a competition of such esteemed, great people around, from the cameramen to the organizers, the producers. It was a really a great program. I mean, as I say, I've been watching it all my career as I've been growing, and so it was, quite nice to be on there.
yeah. Would you do it again?
At that time, I was like, "You're not sure," but like after like a month, 2 months later, so of course, I was definitely I wouldn't mind doing it again. I know you'll be putting yourself and you wonder why do you do this to yourself, but at the end of the day, like why not? I don't have anything negative. I mean, I even had bless her heart, she came last week, well, Thursday just gone, just to check it out. Andy Oliver, the presenter, so she came to try the menu, and it was great of her to come down and do it. Sharing that we have Caribbean heritage from the back streets from Antigua, from Anguilla. So yeah, that was good. I would definitely would be up to do it again if I'm invited. Why not? Because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we're gonna put ourselves into the hot seat. Why not? We see where we come along. At the end of the day, I think
absolutely.
my career is still trying to do what I'm doing, and if I can be able to share that with the world and people to be appreciative of it, and help to spread that word and get an inspiration. Because me too, by able up to this day, I watch the program, and there's few people on there, and I come across new profiles, and I see new techniques or ideas, and I'm intrigued, and I think that it's been an amazing place to showcase that. So bless the Great British Menu for having me.
Yeah, do you know? I think that as a show, I think it's such a wonderful shop window for the industry in general, because you can see the passion and desire of everybody that goes through the kitchen in that process, but also the team spirit is phenomenal. You're all competing against each other, but you don't want to see your competitive fall on their arse, basically, do you? I mean, you're all
Yeah,
there helping each other and to make sure that everybody's as elevated as possible, because actually that puts you in the right frame of mind as well to do your best work, because
yeah,
you're not there to cause problems, you're there to push yourself to your absolute limit, and you get there because other people are pushing themselves as well.
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of good camaraderie to it, especially even when you get to the banquet, because you're only those chefs, and that's it. You're all working on each other, helping each other with the menu, and you're scaling everything up to 80 to 100 portions. And some people have less elements, more elements, and we all got to jump in and still get it executed. It's a very nice environment to be in, and show that regardless of your achievements, if you're a 1 star, 2 star, no star, at the end of the day, we all are just chefs cooking food to bring happy memories towards guests, and we share
Yeah,
that same vision with each other. So
yeah. No, good on you. I that was really indulgent for me, by the way. I was really, really intrigued to learn about the process for Great British Menu. So I thank you very much for giving us such a great insight into that. I hope other people got as much enjoyment out of that as I did.
Yeah.
But I'm conscious of time. But before you go, one question that I like to ask everybody is, what would be your top 3 reasons as to why somebody should come and work in hospitality?
One, I think, like we kind of mentioned it a bit earlier, I think regardless of anything that you do in your career, you can be an accountant, you can be a lawyer, everybody still needs to eat. And I think this is a industry that is of a necessity and it as well as rewarding towards you having the ability to learn a craft that you can use in your day to day life. You know, I think the hospitality provides you being able to take the rewards not only to home to you, but as well to spread that around and love through your knowledge and as you grow and you develop in providing great hospitality, great service, making someone feel less communicated, less uncomfortable. Sorry, you know, leaving the restaurant just by taking their jackets, explaining them a dish, saying thank you, putting a smile on their face, and sometimes people come back to the restaurant on 3 different things. They come back for not just the food, they come back for the service.
Yeah.
And hospitality is about service. So, I'll always recommend that this is a safe place for people that are unsure as well of where they want to go next in their career. Lots of people, I have people that work for me that was working in architecture or working as IT, and they stopped that at 30 something years old and they come and work in the kitchen to be a chef. Kind of didn't really find it interesting or whatever. But in the
Yeah.
same way, you can start off here young and be the chef, and then while you're figuring everything out, you can then go on to do something else. So it's a great platform to stand alone on its own and take care of you, but as well, it's equally a platform that you can transcend. You can pass through. You don't have to just make that decision now. So lots of people when they come out of college, they end up going to work to be a pot washer, they go to be a waiter, or you just go to be a chef. That's like a starting one. They fall in love with it and they stay. Or
Yeah.
equally so, they go on and they study for 5, 6 years, get a bachelor's degree in this, and then come back and say, well, it's boring. At the end of the day, hospitality will be a place of shining a light and bringing smiles to people and everyone. It definitely can give you ups and downs of happiness, and that's what we're about. You're not going to come in
Yeah.
every day and feel it's mundane and it's uninteresting, because every day there's a different customer and there's different change to the menus, to the ingredients, to the seasons. So we have a lot to go by on interpretation, and by keeping things not completely set and having that level of spontaneity, I think that is something everyone looks for in their life, rather than waking up every day and thinking your life is absolutely just the same.
Rigid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, if there's one thing this industry definitely is not, it's definitely not boring, for sure.
yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, if people want to get a hold of you to learn about you and what you're up to, and maybe learn a little bit more about your wonderful concept that you've got on the go now, what's the best method for them to do that?
The quickest way to do that will be through my Instagram, Kerth.Gumbs, or just, KERTHGUMBS. It gives a real up to time view of what I'm doing daily in the kitchen, or every other day is some kind of post, whether in my stories or on my main page. Yeah, that would be the quickest ways for you guys to see what I'm doing. Or you can always just come down and shake a leg with me in the restaurant. I'm there from Wednesday to Saturday. We are doing brunch, lunch, which is easy, accessible dishes. But like I said, I highly recommend, if you can, do book and come down for 6 p.m., which I do the tasting menu paired with cocktails based on my interpretation of Caribbean dishes growing up eating, and shining a light on those humble ingredients in a modern way using these international techniques I've picked up over all these years of working overseas.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I actually love the fact that you're doing a pairing with cocktails. That strikes me as being quite unique, and gives you, I suppose, your bartenders an opportunity to also be equally as creative.
Yes, yes, the bartenders are great because, as I said, the founder of the concept, Adam Carr, and there's another guy, Caesar Britton, they will, opening bars and so forth for other people in Dubai and so forth for the last 7, 8 years. And now it's about time they wanted to do it for yourself. So when they were more on the whiskey side of things, I was like, okay, cool. Well, if you're gonna do my tasting menu, I'd like it to be with cocktails. Whether we use different whiskeys in those cocktails to replicate, so they're very interesting. I would say, there's like smoked Negronis, very light. There's martinis, there's daiquiris, but all with, there's a whiskey colada instead of a normal pina colada with
Nice.
rum. So there's just like little different things to give little nods and synergies, but it's definitely the part of the menu where it's more creative and lots more change and interesting flavors. And I will highly recommend some you guys do come out and check it out.
Fantastic. No, that's great. Look, I massively appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing your story. I think you're an absolute shining light for this industry. I think your energy and positivity and what you're doing deserves all the credit it gets. And I just, I hope you continue to be successful, and I'll be carrying on watching your progress and see you on Great British Menu in 2023.
Cheers. Thank you. Get the word out there.
Yeah. Nice one, Kerth. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Phil. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers. No worries. Bye.
And there we have it. I'm incredibly grateful to get some time with Kerth. His energy and passion for his craft is awesome, and Hospitality is lucky to have him. Get yourself down to Boiler & Company to experience Kerth's wonderful and unique food. We will, of course, be back next Wednesday with another cracking story from Hospitality, so until then, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.